Today is Monday, November the 7th, 2011. You are listening to WCRX-LP, Columbus, Ohio, 102.1 FM, the broadcast radio service of the Bexley Public Radio Foundation. You may visit our website at www.wcrxlp.com. Your inspirational message for today is: do one thing and do it so well that people will return and bring their friends with them. That's a quote from Walt Disney. This is your community table talk. And a little history about Toastmasters. It started 87 years ago, October 1924. 1981, there was 90,000 members. Now there are over 270,000 members. But 6 new countries have been added to Toastmasters: Angola, Aruba, Mongolia, Rwanda, Slovenia, and Vietnam. You go, Toastmasters. And next month, December 2011, is the Toastmaster Club 3002 Whitehall, their 50th anniversary. More information will be coming regarding the 50-year celebration, and you're all invited. Now over to T. Wayne Gatewood. How are you, T. Wayne?
Great, Julie. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. The sun is shining, more Indian summer, and it's absolutely marvelous.
Yes, definitely a beautiful day. I want to start out again, just kind of letting you know about the goal of this program, because I think it's pretty exciting. I'm really a big fan of education, and our station here, WCRX, their goal is, one of their goals is to educate disc jockeys, people that want to be in the broadcasting business. They give them an opportunity to learn and grow in this business. And the goal of Toastmasters, of course, is to develop great leaders and speakers, which is very exciting. And today we've got some real exciting guests here. Can't wait. One of my favorite speakers is on today. I'll get the chance to tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. But the next thing I want to do is talk about our weekly spot. It's called Table Talk Tips. And today I want to talk about speech structure. And I'm going to give you a little bit today, and we'll give you the next couple of weeks. I'll expand on it. But what I want to talk about is when you put together a speech, there's certain things that you want to do. And first of all, you start with your outline, and that's your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And what you want to do in your introduction basically is to get people's attention and let them know tell them what you're going to tell them. In your body, you want to develop your main ideas or points, and then you want to develop supporting information, and then you come up with key points. You want to put everything in order, and you want to expand on those ideas. It may be statistics, it may be a quote, some interesting information. So that second step in the body, you end up telling the people what you told them that you were going to tell them. The last part of your speech is the conclusion. In the conclusion, you want to tell the people what you told them. You want to summarize your information. And it's always nice to leave them with a nice quote or something that has quite a bit of punch. Now, what I want to do to move a little bit further here is give you some ideas on just beginning your speech. Basically, in a successful speech, there's some things you want to do. First of all, you want to get the audience's attention. You want to introduce the topic, establish rapport, and then and that should only take you less than 5 to 10% of your time as far as your speech. So you want to make sure that you hit it real quick and concise. Some of the things that you might want to try too, as far as different techniques, I've got 7 of them. You want to state the importance of the topic. You want to make maybe some kind of a startling comment. You want to arouse suspense and curiosity. We all like to be curious. Also, you may want to tell a story or an anecdote, ask a rhetorical question, And you may want to begin with a quotation, or you may want to reference the particular occasion. So these are some things you want to consider when you're doing your speech. And when you come to Toastmasters, this is the kind of things that you learn. And so with that, I'm going to shift over to my guest, who I'm going to tell you a little bit about. His name is Mr. Steve Gunther. Steve, I met Steve about 2 years ago at a contest, Toastmaster contest. And actually Steve was giving a speech, and I guess the person he was competing against was from our club, and I was really wanting her to win. But I got to tell you, I think it was a tie, or Steve might have been out there a little bit further. He did a fantastic job, and he really caught my attention. So anyway, Steve joined Toastmasters in 2004, the Franklinton Toastmasters. He was laid off from his job after 15 years and was searching for a new position. Well, Steve got a little preoccupied, it looks like, and he's held many positions. He was president, vice president of membership, vice president of public relations, vice president of education. He was a webmaster for their website, and he likes visiting other Toastmasters clubs. He's also written articles in the Franklin Club newsletter known as the Roaming Gnome, and he was the editor for the Toastmaster District 40 newsletter, the Success Times, and I saw a little bit of his work. He's a pretty creative man. In 2009, Steve was a volunteer for the Red Cross as a service to the military family stationed in Gahanna, Ohio. And currently, Steve is working on his Toastmasters rating as an advanced communicator goal, and continue to serve his local club as a mentor's mentor. Is that kind of like a man's man? Mentor's mentor, helping to keep mentoring a significant part of the Franklinton Toastmaster education program. Steve moved to Columbus to start a new career after retiring from the United States Air Force as a senior master sergeant in 1989. During his 22 years in the military, he was posted to overseas assignments in Vietnam, Thailand, and London, England. In the U.S., he was stationed in Nebraska, Texas, and Washington, D.C. He has worked in the IT world for over 30 years, from an I.O. clerk to a data processing center manager. Steve holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and an associate's degrees in history and forestry. Steve found himself forced out of work twice before finally finding the position he has held in 2005. And I'm going to let Steve tell you in his testimonial the rest of the story. Steve.
How many of you listening are now or were at some time a hero? Before you try to answer that question, let's look at what we mean by the word hero to begin with. We will get to that in a little while. First of all, about myself. As T. Wayne said, I joined Toastmasters to help find myself a job. I had been told when I was looking that several positions I'd applied for had been lost because I performed poorly in the interviews. I came across as tentative, hesitant, and uncertain. So I needed to increase my confidence, increase my ability to communicate with people, and that's when I joined Toastmasters. Now, when I say this in the speech environment or in front of a club, at a club, I will say exactly that. I'll say, I hoped it would help me find a job. And I pause for effect and say it didn't. Pause even a little bit more and say it helped me find 3. Because it did. Within the space of 9 months, I moved to Fairfax, Virginia for a job, decided I didn't like that, found another job back here in Columbus. After 6 or 7 months, they decided they didn't like me, and then I found the job that I'm currently in right now, a place where I'm very happy, and the main thing that helped me to find these jobs, that increased my confidence, was my Toastmasters experience, because I learned how to talk to people, how to influence people and put myself over. And that's Toastmasters, where leaders are made.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Anyway, sir, we got what I call a timely and interesting topic today that you're going to share some of your wisdom with us on, and it's bullying. I've been hearing all the information about bullying ever since school started this year. It's really gotten hot and heavy, and we thought it'd be a timely topic. And it just so happens that when I heard Steve's championship speech, he spoke on that topic, and that's why I think this would be very appropriate. What Steve is doing today is he's going to be doing a speech from our public relations manual, and it has to do with learning how to be a talk show host. So Steve is going to share his speech with you, and then there's another gentleman in the audience, Mr. Mike Meyer. He's going to be Steve's. He's going to be his evaluator. One of the key things when we do a speech is the feedback. The feedback is very critical. And Mr. Smedley has a quote that I like, and he said, "We learn best in moments of enjoyment. We learn best in moments of enjoyment." And myself, I always believe that it's always nice that when you're learning to make a mistake, you don't really realize it. And I think that's one of the things that I get when I go to Toastmasters. A very nurturing environment. People do give you critical feedback, but it's done in decent and in order and in a loving fashion. So anyway, I'm going to let Mr. Gunther go ahead and do what he does. He does it well. I think you'll agree. And Steve, there you go.
Well, I certainly hope I whetted your appetite somewhat with my little question before. I'll repeat it for you right now. How many of you are now or were at one time a hero? Well, we want to define that term, and let's do it by using the classical Greek method of description. Picture now, if you will, calm Sunday afternoon, 1985, sitting down to lunch in a fast food eatery in a small English town. In comes a group of local toughs looking for trouble. They focus on someone sitting in a booth and start into an argument which quickly escalates into what appears to be imminent violence. Well, by now people are standing, watching. The leader picks up a chair. He's going to hit this poor chap over the head, and nobody moved. Then I stood up, stepped behind the tough, wrapped my arms around the bully's chest, and said to him, "Hey, quit that. You could hurt the guy." Well, duh, isn't that what his whole object was? But it was so unexpected, the room was so dead quiet, he let go. I let go. The bully put the chair down, turned around to me in amazement. At that point, I thought he would rip my head off and hand it to me. That was me. Then somebody across the room laughed. The tension was gone. There was no point in continuing. The toughs, very confused by what happened, left. And we went around about our business and had lunch. I sat down with my family. My furious wife told me I could have gotten myself killed. What had possessed me to do that, I couldn't say. So what's the classic definition of a hero? If you look it up in a dictionary, you'll find words like courage, nobility, strength, boldness, champion. Did I show any of these qualities? Courage? Well, maybe a little bit. Strength? Hardly. Boldness? Champion? I don't think so. Was this a dramatic rescue? Did I stop an awful crime, save a life? No. Would anyone ever make a movie or write a book or even remember what happened? No. Well, I did. So what did we have here? We had someone that did something when nobody else would or did. Now that is the definition I give you for a hero. That day I did something that on the surface seemed stupid, out of character, and outrageous, but worked. The situation was diffused, and we ate lunch. I hadn't thought about that day for over 25 years until I watched a YouTube video where a man described how everyone like any one of you tuning in today, has a hero inside. It was Philip Zimbardo speaking at a 2008 TED conference describing how people become monsters or heroes. He described a subway incident in New York when an elderly man fell off the platform into the path of an onrushing train, and another man jumped down to help him. No time to move him. He just placed him between the rails, pressed down, lay on top of him, and the train passed over them with a half-inch to spare. They both lived. Now, there are big heroes and there are little heroes, and obviously he was big. I was just tiny, a little hero, maybe. But how were we alike? We both did something when nobody else would. The central idea here is action. You will someday find yourself in a situation, maybe you already have, where everyone will do nothing. Something needs to be done, but nobody will do it. You know something needs to be done. Someone just has to do it. Now, what does this have to do with bullying? Everything. When people see things happen that shouldn't happen, when people are pushed around or picked on for being different, that is bullying. So how can we stop it? We stand up and do something. We speak out. We condemn it. Do not let it pass unopposed. As Edmund Burke said in the 1700s, all that is required for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Good women, too. Nowadays, bullying is not as simple. It's not just like a brief encounter in a restaurant. It's often widespread in schools or a community or workplace. It can take courage, confidence, and the ability to actually communicate and get your message across to stop. That's where organizations like Toastmasters can help so much. Here, you will learn how to express yourself and get your ideas across. When you become a better communicator, you influence people, and when you influence people, you become a leader. Anyone can be a hero if they stand up, speak out, and change how others think and act. That young man in the restaurant in England, he might one day find a cure for cancer or be prime minister. Who knows what great things can happen because of the little things that you do. When that time comes, and come it will, don't doubt that. You won't see it coming. Nobody will move. Everyone will stand or sit there and watch. What will you do? I'd like to give you a little quote from a poem I found online titled Hero by Sarah Messina, and it was on poemhunter.com that I found this. Heroes are made when you make a choice. You could be a hero. Heroes do what's right. You could be a hero. You might save a life. You could be a hero. You could join the fight for what's right. For what's right. For what's right. Again, I'll ask, when that time comes, what will you do? Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Now, as I said earlier, one of the key components that really help you grow with Toastmasters is the evaluation. Right now we're going to have Mr. Mike Meyer. He's going to give an evaluation on Steve's great speech. And after that we'll have a little Q&A with my co-host Julia Bland. Okay, Mike, how are you today, sir?
I am just great. As Julia said, it's a beautiful day out, and we're enjoying ourselves here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, well, I'll just let you go right to what you do.
All right. Well, as you mentioned earlier, the evaluation portion of Toastmasters is equally as important as the speech making itself. The whole experience of Toastmasters is about helping people become better speakers. And without some evaluation, some assessment, some feedback, it's hard to learn the things that we need to learn. We don't always hear ourselves, but other people do hear things differently. Today, Steve did a project from the Advanced Manual on Public Relations, and the idea of the project was to present an organization or a person in a good light so that people would be favorably disposed. That's the job of public relations. This project was interesting in that it didn't really fit 100% with the goals of this particular program. But I think Steve did a real good job of adapting his topic and subject matter to the goals of the program as well. And he, as we learned in the intro, he is an accomplished speaker, and so we welcome what he has to say. Bullying has been a hot topic for some time, and with every new school year, it becomes hot again. So Steve used this topic to advantage here. He did a lot of research in terms of the topic of heroism and bullying, offered many quotes to support his premise and position. In Toastmasters, it's all about getting up in front of a group, and we don't usually think about live radio in that context, but certainly we believe there's a group out there, and many of the things that we teach in Toastmasters have to do with presentation. You know, how did you present yourself as you were giving the speech? Did you appear nervous? Did you move around? Did you use gestures and so on? Of course, none of you in the audience are aware of those things, but we are. Those of us here in the studio are aware. And Steve used his voice, the tone and the cadence and the volume of his voice, which was accompanied here by facial expression and gesture. We welcome that, and we heard the result of it, because the expressions came with the voice variety, the vocal variety. So you heard it as well. We had maybe only one thing that I would offer as an idea to grow on, and that was that we had an assigned time for this, and the speech actually went beyond the assigned time window, which means that my evaluation might be a little shorter than it would otherwise be, because now we're up against hard limits here. So I would offer that as just a suggestion to be more conscious in rehearsal, and that you do stick within the time window. Other than that, you did a wonderful job of giving us a vivid picture of what it means to confront a bully and how one might stop bullying in its tracks. And with that,
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thanks for the evaluation. As you can see, we're serious about this. We want to make sure people have things that will help them grow, feedback. Now what we'll do is, we've got just a couple of minutes here, 2-3 minutes. We're going to have a little Q&A with our co-host, Julia Bland, and Mr. Steve Gunther. Okay.
Steve, there's so much bullying going on, and of course we know a lot of things are supposed to be taught in the home, starting with the parents. But there's so many times children will act real nice at home because their parents aren't around, or they're out somewhere with their parents. But when they get to school, sometimes some students want to belong to the group, their peers, so they don't want to be left out, or they don't want to be laughed at, so they're going to join in with their peers at school and join in with the bullying. How can we control that?
That is a very difficult idea there. You're absolutely right. When children are away from home, they don't necessarily behave the way the parents want them to. Essentially, I've always thought that really it is the responsibility of the parent to raise the child to have certain values. and to have the courage to stand up for those values. Sometimes, though, at school, it is hard for them, and they won't do it. They may not even realize that they're bullying. They're just having fun. They're having a joke on somebody else. But it hurts that other person. The way to combat that is to try and get across to the child, how would you feel in those situations? How would you feel if that happened to you? Well, is it the job of the school to turn around and intimidate children themselves this way? No, not really. But the school can have, and all schools can have, zero tolerance policies. When they see things like this happening, counseling is a very obvious means to combat it. Talking with the parents, dealing with it through PTA meetings and so on like that. But it all comes down really to setting an example. All too often, we will see this kind of behavior actually initiated by the teachers themselves, unintentionally. It's something that still comes down to instilling in your own children the proper sense of responsibility and how to behave towards others and respect other people's feelings.
Okay, most recently I read an article, and it says most Franklin County school boards use a standard model policy that makes no mention of specific groups that shouldn't be bullied. Olentangy and Pickerington are two of the large Central Ohio districts. They also use model policies. There are 4 local districts that list specific groups, and those are Bexley, Grandview Heights, Westerville, and Worthington. Their policies say no one should be bullied, but go on to detail some reasons students should not be harassed. In Worthington, those include race, color, national origin, ancestry, citizenship, religion, sexual orientation, handicap, age, or sex. Westerville's protections are similar, but add marital status to theirs. I know a lot of times the adults, it's really up to a lot of responsible adults. If you had a restaurant or an establishment, business establishment, and kids came in, because a lot of times the stores do not want children into their establishments at certain times. If a bunch of kids came into your establishment and started a problem, would you be afraid to speak up because it would take away your sales? Would you be afraid of having to get in a scuffle with a student? How would you handle that?
Again, you ask such difficult questions.
Julia, you shouldn't have.
It is an absolute problem because fear is a big factor. Fear is a big factor. It depends on how the children are behaving, too. You might get a child who's obviously acting like a child, but this child happens to be 6'2", and you're only 4 foot none. That can be very intimidating for you too. The only advice that I could offer to anyone is to try and calm the situation. If you have to ask someone to leave, ask them to leave. You may have to call in the authorities. I don't think, though, that generally speaking, bullies will react badly if you just make them realize what's going on. If you make them realize that they're not being taken seriously, or you laugh it off, they will very likely back down. Just confront them peacefully.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate this time, and we can go on and on with more about this bullying subject because it's becoming very, 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 very important. Right now, I have for you a Did You Know? Chevrolet, they've been in existence for 100 years. 100 years. And to think, it was developed in 1911 so they could compete with the Ford. In 1961, the New York Yankees player Roger Maris breaks Babe Ruth's record for most home runs in a single season. Ah, did you know that? Now, T. Wayne, you have parting words for us.
Yes, I do. Many of you that see me and know me, you know I'm quite a large guy, but when I think about the bullying, as I've grown up as a kid, I was bullied quite a bit. And I always wondered about those that stood by as bystanders and just kind of watched. And this quote that I have here, I think it's important. And I just like to say that, you know, the quote goes like this. It's from Dr. Martin Luther King. Is, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So let's step up and help somebody.
And thank you for listening to us this morning with our Toastmasters Community Table Talk. And you've been listening to WCRX-LP Columbus, Ohio, 102.1 FM, the broadcast radio service of Bexley Public Radio Foundation. Be sure to visit our website at www.wcrxlp.com. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. We'll see you next week.